There's a moment in every legend's life. A moment when the question is no longer, is he successful? But rather, can he repeat the miracle? And that's exactly what happened with Michael Jackson. In the 1980s, he wasn't just a singer achieving success. He was changing the game. Every new album raised expectations to a level no one had reached before. But the problem was, when you make the best-selling album in history, and then follow it with albums that achieve global success, the audience doesn't expect just another good album. They expect a new miracle. Then, Michael disappeared for years. And during his absence, the world didn't stop to wait for him. Music changed. R&B and hip-hop took over at the beginning of the new millennium. A new generation of producers and singers emerged. As for Michael, he worked in silence. Since 1997, he entered the studio to begin a project that would take nearly 4 years, involving a large number of producers, with a massive production budget that made it one of the most expensive albums of its time. Every additional month, he raised expectations even higher, and every rumor about the album turned into global news. The press was talking about the great comeback, and Sony was waiting to recoup its investment. As for the public, they were waiting for only one thing: an album that would prove the king of pop was still king. Then, in October 2001, Invincible hit the market. The beginning. It seemed perfect. It topped the sales charts and launched its commercial career with a bang, but this beginning was only the first chapter of a more complex story. Days later, critical reviews began to appear. Some critics praised the production and the power of the opening tracks, but others felt the album was too long and lacked the creative leaps they were accustomed to hearing from Michael Jackson. Ultimately, it received an average critical score of 51 out of 100 on Metacritic, while audience ratings were significantly higher, a discrepancy that would haunt the album for years to come. And here, the real question began. Was the problem with the album itself, or with the expectations? Because comparing any new work to albums like Thriller, Bad, and Dangerous is simply not a fair comparison. It's like demanding that a runner break the world record in every race he enters. And as the years passed, something strange began to happen. Many of those who had rejected Invincible upon its release went back to listen to it again. And in fan communities, new discussions emerged, with some considering it one of Michael's most misunderstood albums, while others argued that its main problem was its length and lack of cohesion, not the quality of each individual song. So, was Invincible a flop, or a victim of impossible expectations, and a conflict the public didn't see? Because behind the scenes, there wasn't just a musical battle. There was a confrontation between Michael Jackson and Sony, a confrontation that would change the album's fate, and perhaps change our entire perspective on its story. And that's where the real story begins. Let me ask you a question. Can an album fail before people even hear it? The idea might seem strange. We always think that the fate of any album is determined by the songs. If the songs are great, it will be a success. If they are weak, it will fail. But the music industry doesn't work that simple. Sometimes, the battle isn't fought in the studio. It's fought in boardrooms, behind contracts, behind closed doors. To understand what happened with Invincible, we have to go back 10 years. To 1991. Michael Jackson signed one of the biggest contracts in the history of the music industry with Sony Music. At that time, everything seemed perfect. Michael had the biggest name in pop, and Sony had the biggest music marketing machine in the world. Both sides were winning. It was hard to imagine that this partnership would one day turn into a war. But the problem, it didn't start with a song or an album. It started with something far more serious: ownership. Michael wasn't just an artist. He was a businessman who thought about the future. And as time passed, he began to believe that the rights to his original recordings would revert to him, based on his understanding of the contract. But when he reviewed the details, he discovered that the legal reality was more complex and that the dispute with Sony was escalating until both parties lost faith in each other. And that's when the relationship transformed from a partnership into a conflict. And yet, Invincible was nearing its release date. In October 2001, the album was officially released, and the beginning seemed promising. It reached #1 in several countries and made a strong debut on the Billboard 200, giving the impression that the comeback had been a success. But success isn't measured by the first week. Real success, it starts then. Where's the world tour? Where are the new videos? Where are the singles that used to play for months on the radio? This time, nothing happened that Michael's fans were used to. A world tour had been planned, but the project was cancelled. The promotional campaign was also affected by the dispute between Jackson and Sony, in addition to the circumstances following the September 11th attacks, which also led to the cancellation of many events in the entertainment industry. And that's when the questions began. Was Sony punishing Michael? Or had the conflict spiraled out of control? The truth is there are two versions of events. Michael's version. He later accused the company of not giving the album the support it deserved. And Sony's version. They asserted that they had spent millions of dollars on the project and that the crisis was more complex than just deliberate neglect. And that's why it's important not to reduce the story to black and white. The established facts indicate that the relationship between the two parties had already broken down. However, the interpretation of how this dispute impacted the fate of Invincible remains a subject of debate to this day. And the strange thing is, many of Michael's fans still believe the album didn't get the chance it deserved, while others believe the quality of the work itself was the reason for the divided opinions surrounding it. But if we leave aside politics and contracts and the war between the record label and the artist, and focus solely on the music, we arrive at a more important question. Did Invincible truly possess what it took to be a successor to Thriller and Bad? Or was the problem within the album itself? In the next chapter, we will set aside the dispute and examine the album song by song. We will begin with the most controversial opening track, Unbreakable, to determine if it was the announcement of the birth of a new voice, or the first indication that time was beginning to change the king of pop. There's an unwritten rule in the world of music. The first track on an album, it's not just a song. It's a statement, a message, a promise, or a threat. It's the moment when the artist tells the listener, forget everything you know, get ready for what I'm about to deliver. And that's why, when millions of people put Invincible into their music players in October 2001, everyone was expecting something familiar. Maybe a dance track like Billie Jean, or a raucous opening like Jam. But instead, a heavy electronic bang came out of the speakers. Then Michael's voice came through. You can't touch me. I'm unbreakable. And that's how Unbreakable began. A 6-minute track with sharp digital beats and production led by Rodney Darkchild Jerkins, featuring a recorded rap riff by the Notorious B.I.G., opened with what seemed like a declaration that Michael wasn't looking to recapture the past, but rather to create a new sound. But here, the world was divided. Some listened and said, this isn't the Michael we know, while others saw it as the most daring opening of his career in years. Even Enemy, despite its overall criticism of the album, described Unbreakable as the song that stuck in your mind after the first listen, praising its rhythm and defiant message. And if you look closer, you'll discover that the lyrics themselves aren't just words. You won't break me. You won't touch me. I'll still be here. Was it a song about strength? Or a message to the press? Or was it a response to everyone who said Michael's time was over? Perhaps all of that together. Then, with almost no break, Heartbreaker begins. And here you feel like you're still in the first song. Almost the same rhythms, the same energy, and the same style. Then comes the third song, Invincible. And here the first real problem begins. Because the first three songs were produced by Rodney Jerkins, they formed what some fans and critics call the Darkchild trilogy, three songs connected in spirit and production, with which Michael intended to present the sound of the future, before moving on to quieter songs. But some critics felt that this similarity made the beginning seem less diverse than they had expected. And here, an important question arises. Was Michael trying to keep up with the times? Or was he trying to lead them? The answer depends on the year you ask. In 2001, many critics said the album relied too heavily on electronic production and lacked the timeless melodies that made Michael famous. It received mixed reviews, with a clear divide among critics. But more than 20 years later, a different interpretation began to emerge. In fan communities, many describe Unbreakable as one of Michael's best debut albums, arguing that its production aged better than critics predicted and that the album predated many sounds that later became popular. However, this remains a public opinion, not a critical consensus. And here's the paradox. Perhaps the problem wasn't that Michael was behind his time, or perhaps it wasn't that he was ahead of his time. Rather, it was because he arrived at the wrong moment. A moment when the public wanted the old Michael, while he was trying to present the new Michael. But if the beginning was so raucous, then the real surprise wasn't in the fast-paced songs, but in the moment the rhythm slowed down, and the challenge vanished, revealing another side of Michael, a more mature side, and less showy. Let me ask you a question. What's the first image that comes to mind when you hear the name Michael Jackson? The moonwalk? The black hat? The glittery glove? Or the famous scream that preceded the explosive beat? Most likely, you'll think of the performer, the dancer, the show. But there's a strange truth. Perhaps Michael's greatest weapon wasn't his feet. It was his voice. And amidst the electronic frenzy that opened Invincible, he suddenly decided to hit pause. The beats slowed. The challenges vanished. All that remained was the voice of a 43-year-old man, singing with a quietness we weren't used to hearing from him. And that's where Break of Dawn begins. From the very first seconds, you don't feel like you're listening to a song made to top the club scene, but rather to a tranquil space. In this song, Michael lets his voice lead the way. Some critics saw it as a classic R&B track that relied more on performance than innovation, while others felt the song's true power lay in the warmth of the vocals, reminiscent of songs like The Lady in My Life. And here, a strange paradox emerges. In the 80s, Michael stunned the world with his energy. Here, he tries to amaze them with his quietude. Then comes the next song, Heaven Can Wait, and its concept is simple, but it's powerful. An angel comes to take you to heaven, and you refuse, not out of fear of death, but because you don't want to leave the one you love. It might seem like a conventional romantic idea, but the way Michael sings it is what makes it different. His voice doesn't sound like that of a star trying to prove himself, but like that of a human being who truly lives the words. Even today, many fans consider Heaven Can Wait among the album's best tracks, particularly praising the emotional performance in the final verse. Others, however, still prefer Break of Dawn, reflecting the continued division even among the album's own audience. But the real gem was yet to come. Butterflies. This isn't a song that tries to impress in the first 10 seconds. It's a song that needs you to give it time. And when you do, the subtle details begin to emerge. The layers of harmony, the smooth falsetto, and the seemingly simple vocal transitions. But their execution is anything but simple. That's why Butterflies has become one of the album's most appreciated tracks over time, while some critics consider it one of its most romantic and successful moments. And here, the real question arises. Has Michael changed? Or were we just expecting something different from him? because many listeners, they came across the album expecting a new Billie Jean or a new Beat It. But Michael didn't want to go back to 1983. He wanted to present himself as a man over 40, with a more mature voice and calmer music. And this decision, I liked it and disappointed it. Some contemporary reviews even criticized the romantic ballads, saying they slowed the album's tempo, while others felt these songs gave Invincible its human, non-showy character. But amidst all this beauty, there was a problem. It began to creep in quietly, each song on its own. It might be good, but did they all belong on the same album? And did Invincible really need 16 songs? Or did too many ideas make the album lose its cohesion? Can a work of art be full of good ideas and then end up with less than the sum of its parts? The answer is yes. And this is perhaps the biggest problem Invincible faced. Oddly enough, most reviews didn't say the album was entirely bad. They said something even more irritating. It's too long. 16 tracks. More than 77 minutes. And between songs, you sometimes feel like you're listening to two different albums, not one. Some critics felt the second half lost momentum due to the abundance of slower songs, while others believed the album would have been stronger if it had been shorter, despite praising songs like Whatever Happens. And here's where the paradox begins. Because the problem wasn't the presence of good songs, it was their arrangement, and their sheer number, and the rhythm of some of them is similar. Take, for example, Speechless, then 2000 Watts, then You're My Life, then Privacy. For songs in a row, each one belongs to a different world. It's as if the listener is transported every 5 minutes to a new album. This is why some critics felt the experience lacked a unifying thread from beginning to end, even while acknowledging that the album contains powerful musical moments. But let's pause at an important point. Is this a problem unique to Invincible? The answer: no. In the late 90s and early 2000s, CDs allowed artists to fit more than 70 minutes of music into a single album. And suddenly, albums became longer, and deleting songs became more difficult. In fact, many fans today believe that Dangerous, History, and Invincible would all have benefited from a shorter track list, though they disagree on which songs should have been cut. This remains a common opinion, not an objective fact. And here's where the problem of success lies. The more legendary you become, the harder it is for anyone to tell you, this song doesn't deserve to stay. Back in Thriller's day, Quincy Jones would argue with Michael. He'd cut, he'd shorten, he'd re-record. And the goal was always to reach the ultimate version. But with Invincible, Michael worked with a multitude of producers without a single production figure imposing a unified vision on the album. Some analysts believe this contributed to the inconsistent rhythms of the tracks. But amidst all this criticism, there was one song that even some of the album's detractors agreed upon: Whatever Happens. A song Rolling Stone described as one of the album's most intelligent and beautiful moments, thanks to the fusion of Michael's voice with Carlos Santana's guitar and its rhythm, which differs from the rest of the track. And here, the paradox deepens. How can an album some accuse of being full of superfluous songs contain, at the same time, one of his most beloved tracks? Perhaps because the problem wasn't the quality of each individual song, but rather how they were combined into a single work. And that's why, more than 20 years later, the debate continues. Some say, if 4 or 5 songs had been cut, Invincible would have been one of Michael's greatest albums. On the other hand, others respond, but who decides which songs get cut? And that is the question no one has the answer to. Sometimes, the best song on the album isn't always the most popular, nor the one played on TV every hour, nor even the one that tops the charts. Sometimes, the gem hides in a place no one looks, and that is exactly what happened with Whatever Happens. If I asked you to name the most famous Invincible songs, you'd probably say, "You Rock My World," and maybe, "Butterflies." But if you ask even the most ardent Michael Jackson fan, you'll hear one name repeated a lot: Whatever Happens. The strange thing is, this song never had a music video. It wasn't released as a single, and it wasn't pushed onto the radio the way the major hits did. And yet, over the years, it has become one of the album's most recognizable tracks among Michael's fans, with many recent discussions even describing it as the hidden gem of Invincible. But what made it different? The answer: it starts with one name: Carlos Santana. After the legendary success of 1999's Supernatural, Santana was one of the most influential guitarists in the world. And when he teamed up with Michael, it wasn't just about adding a guest of honor. It was about creating a different musical world. From the very first seconds, you feel that the song doesn't belong to the rest of the album. A calm Latin rhythm, a guitar that breathes and doesn't show off, and an orchestra that moves quietly behind Michael's voice. It's as if the song is a short film, not just 4 minutes of music. Then come the lyrics: a man and a woman, facing a danger whose nature we don't know, but between them lies a simple promise: whatever happens, don't let go of my hand. The song needs no lengthy explanation, nor complex metaphors. Its power lies in its simplicity. And that's why even some critics who didn't like the rest of the album praised it. James Hunter of Rolling Stone called it one of Invincible's finest moments, praising Santana's guitar riffs and the orchestral arrangement, and deeming it a smart and elegant piece in an album he considered too long. But, and here's the paradox: if the song is this good, why didn't most people know it? There's no definitive answer. But one thing is certain: it didn't receive the marketing support that songs like You Rock My World did. And as the years passed, listeners began to discover it for themselves. Each new generation, he would write almost the same sentence: "How come I never heard this song before?" And that's what gave it a different life. Not the life of a hit song, but the life of a song that grows slowly and earns more respect with time. But Whatever Happens wasn't the album's last surprise, because Michael decided to end the journey in a completely different way. After all the romantic songs, and all the conflicts, and all the personal messages, he arrives at Threatened. And here, he suddenly returns to the world of Thriller, the mysterious sounds, the cinematic atmosphere, and the voiceover inspired by the work of Rod Serling, host of The Twilight Zone, in an attempt to create an ending that is more dramatic than just a closing song. As if Michael is saying to the listener, "You may disagree about this album, but don't think I've lost my ability to surprise." And here, after the final second of Invincible, only one question remains. If the album contains tracks like Butterflies, and Whatever Happens, and Unbreakable, then why did it go down in history as the most divisive album in the King of Pop's career? More than 20 years later, the same question still lingers. Was Invincible the end of the King of Pop's reign, or the beginning of a decades-long misunderstanding? In 2001, the verdict seemed clear. The critics weren't enthusiastic. The album received a score of 51 out of 100 on Metacritic, a score that reflected a clear divide among reviewers. Some considered it long and repetitive, while others felt it lacked the surprise element that made Thriller and Bad a hit. But is the story over? No, because history sometimes writes a new review. Despite the critical controversy, Invincible debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, reached #1 in 13 countries, and sold millions of copies worldwide. Over time, it achieved double platinum certification in the United States. These aren't the numbers of a commercially flop, but they also didn't reach the legendary standards Michael Jackson's fans were accustomed to. And here's the real problem. Invincible wasn't competing with other artists. It was competing with Thriller. And how could any album beat the best-selling album in music history? Perhaps. It wasn't a fair fight from the start. And as the years passed, the picture began to change. Stephen Thomas Erlewine of AllMusic wrote in his later review that the album had a spark and sounded better than anything Michael had given since Dangerous, even if it wasn't the comeback album everyone was waiting for. And it wasn't just the critics who were reconsidering. The audience was too. While the critic score remained at 51, the user rating on Metacritic reached 8.2 out of 10, with frequent praise for songs like Butterflies, Whatever Happens, Speechless, and Break of Dawn. And here, the question becomes more difficult. Were the critics wrong? Perhaps. Did some fans overdo it in defending the album? Perhaps as well. But what is certain is that Invincible is no longer discussed today in the same way it was in 2001. Even in modern fan communities, the idea that the album was ahead of its time in some aspects is frequently repeated, while others believe its main problem was its length and poor editing, not the quality of the music itself. The debate continues, which is what keeps its legacy alive today. And perhaps, this is the biggest paradox. Bad albums. People forget them. But albums that continue to be debated more than 2 decades later often have left an undeniable mark. Is Invincible Michael Jackson's best album? Probably not. And is it his worst? The answer isn't that simple, because it features some of the most beautiful vocal performances of his career, while simultaneously suffering from problems with rhythm, length, and consistency, even acknowledged by some of his defenders. And perhaps, the biggest mistake was, everyone wanted Michael Jackson to reinvent the miracle. But miracles are not made every day, and that's why Invincible may not have been the album that brought Michael Jackson back to the top. But it was the last time the world heard a full album of new material from the King of Pop. And for that reason alone, this album will remain one of the most debated chapters of his career, and perhaps one of the most unjust.